How's it going, everyone? This is Michael for Spirit Comics. Welcome, true readers, to another review. This is Dark Days, the Casting, Part 2 in the Prelude to Dark Nights Metal. Alright, here on the cover we have Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern, Batman, the Joker down, cowering on the floor like he should be, and to the left, Dick Thomas. Now, this is what DC does good, I believe. Their artists do not waste a bit of space of the cover. So everything is being used here. You see what looks like a lightning or energy in the background. Then something else is approaching them. So there's something going on. There's action going on. So it's a good cover, I believe. And here's a advertisement for the Jack Kirby specials. He would have had his 100th birthday on August 28th, I think it was. And some variant covers. And here we get into the story. It opens up that Carter Hall is telling us from his journal that in Cairo they called him an adventurer, in Athens they called him a philosopher, but he says, but my small museum at the quiet American city of St. Roch, in the first decades of the 20th century, I was an archaeologist. And so that's what he does. He goes back to that same museum. I believe this is close to present day. And what I like about this, and what I want you to notice, here, this Hawkman is the one I remember. The one who actually wore trunks. And I'm sure when they redraw him for his own comic that's coming out, that's part of this metal event, they may draw him without the trunks because it's so cliche to not have trunks now. Just look at Batman and Superman. But this is the Hawkman of old. This is like the Silver Age Hawkman. There with his wife Shiara. And they are entering the Egyptian wing of that museum. And notice here to the left it says the tomb of Shiara. That's her. Shiara is Hawkgirl. Right there with Hawkman. Shiara Hall. And in Dark Days, The Forge, her name was spelled a little bit differently. And then we go to the opening page where it shows us the title, Dark Days, the Casting. And then we see that they are approaching this exhibit, which is the tomb of Shiara Hall, obviously, because that's what it was pointing toward. And there are these 13 individuals standing in the exhibit. 13 individuals that should not be there. And so Hawkman and Hawkgirl are approaching the exhibit. And they are going to engage these individuals. But here's something I want you to see. If you did not see this before, in Dark Days of the Casting, what it says right here, DC Comics basically gives Hawkman a new origin. I told them what I now knew, that our lives did not begin in Egypt, that they began generations earlier. The Dark Priest has said he had not cast us down this path of reincarnation. Now I know that Hawkman is a Thanagarian from his own home planet, Thanagar. I think I said that right. I hope I said it right. And he and Hawk Girl, excuse me, came to Earth in the history that I know or I remember, and they started their story here on Earth in Egypt. So this is basically saying that Hawkman existed on Earth generations before Egypt, not on another alien planet. Because if you remember in Dark Days The Forge, the review I just did, in the opening of that comic, it shows Hawkman as a barbarian viewing that Thanagarian jet flying overhead. So it's Hawkman losing his origin and getting a new one. He says right here, he had taken our past away from us. No, DC Comics has taken your past away. And he had scrubbed the truth about the metal, and he spoke of the metal that changed everything and the terrible being that it had brought forth. And there we see this dagger, and I believe this is the same dagger that we're going to see later in the story. And this woman is standing behind Ra's al Ghul, and she says, "Al Ghul, do you see what I see?" "Yes, Miss Seward, I do." And then that old man takes the dagger and shoves it right through the display that tells all visitors what the exhibit is about. And Hawkman and Hawkgirl stand there, stunned, like idiots, just doing nothing. And so then we change scenes to Methana, Greece, where Batman is fighting a weird creature. And of course it's late at night, I believe, because we can tell from the shadows from the sky in the way that Wonder Woman's blade, blade, sort of glows really brightly in the darkness. Because if that were during the day, it would not be glowing so bright. And she says that he falls under the protection of Themyscira because all animals and all other, mythical creatures can understand what she's saying. And Wonder Woman sort of, gives Batman a hard time when she says, "I am certain Batman was about to politely ask for safe passage to your patron's temple." And he says that in kind of a hushed voice. "I was going to do that next. After I beat the living crap out of this beast, or at least he was trying to." And so they go. So Wonder Woman told him that, you should have called me. And he says to her that, "I promise you, Diana, I wouldn't be here if it weren't absolutely necessary. I'm so damn close to the answers I need to make sense of all I've seen." He's saying he needs someone with greater perspective, who was there when all this crap was set in motion. And she says, "How did you discover the entrance to this place?" And he mentions that he found a scroll from a death cult that's dating back to 200 AD. And it was a cult of smith workers. They described the treacherous path to the great forge of Hephaestus. I'm not sure if I pronounced it right. But this Hephaestus, he was a Greek god metalsmith, meaning he made metals, he weapons for the gods. Anyway, he says they would throw themselves in the fire when they reached it. They would become the fuel of his creations themselves. And she's like, that's what you want? To make yourself a sacrifice to the gods? There's easier ways. She's like, I need to speak with him. She says, I'm sorry, Bruce, but you're too late. The gods have abandoned Earth. They've barred the gates of Olympus behind them. Now, this is kind of strange here. This scene where she says the gates of Olympus have been barred because the artwork looks kind of confusing. It's not certain what the artist was trying to draw, but it is what it is. It looks like a building that's been shut down for a while, and Batman's like, why would they leave? And she says, I shouldn't be telling you any of this, but they believe a war is coming, a war that will not only shape the Earth, but the cosmos too. A crisis that will shake the firmament and douse the light of creation. And she says, I can see in your eyes that you see it coming too. How can you know the thinking of the gods? And so Batman says, I know fear, Daniel, which he does know fear because he is Batman, he is the knight, he is vengeance, blah blah blah. And he says, use your lasso if you think I'm lying. I hoped Hephaestus would be able to shine a light into the darkness. And then Diana gives him such light because she's carrying something called the Sunblade, which is a blade literally made of fire. And she says that it was created for Apollo at the dawn of human civilization. It's one of 12 weapons created for each of the pantheon. That's of the Greek gods. Humans aren't meant to wield it or even know that it exists. Festus called it the 8th metal. It's not the pure form that Batman sought, but it's something that'll help him see. That's something that'll help him reach what he needs. And she says, mark my words, Bruce. The gods have given you the sun to light your way. Do not throw it away for the darkness. And most of all, be wary of the gods. They have their own agenda. But what does Batman do? He does exactly what she told him not to do. So then we go over here to the Batcave in Gotham City, where Joker is just standing there like he's got all day, just talking to Green Lantern and Duke Thomas. And he's telling them all this information. It's a lot of dialogue. But he's asking them if they see the big picture yet. Or is he going to have to spell it out for them? And Lantern says that he's listened, to the insanity of the Joker long enough. And there's not a single reason that they should trust him. And that thinking about Batman locking him down here in the Batcave for God knows how long, that upsets him, and it doesn't make Duke any happier as well. And Joker says, why so angry, Duke? Is it because you're the also-ran? What is an also-ran? I've never heard that term before. They're not good enough to get the real job, Robin. In other words, he's playing with Duke, making fun of him, using psychology, just like Harley Quinn does. Or is it because the last time I saw you, I poisoned your parents past the brink of sanity and tried to have them shot right in front of your impressionable eyes? Then he starts laughing. And all Duke says is, I'll hurt you. I mean, come on. Couldn't the writers have come up with anything better than that? Something like, Joker, when I get my hands on you, I swear I will kill you. You know, something dramatic. Something better than, I'll hurt you. And Lantern's saying, get back, Duke. You don't want to mess with the energy field, because that's what they're in right now. They're in that energy field. And Joker's laughing because he hasn't had fun like that in a long time. And he says that that's how it all got started, with a bit of fun. And then he starts referring to Batman, saying, thought I'd kill his whole family. You know how it is. Get rid of the kids and rekindle the romance, the old flame. And to refer to Batman like that is just strange to me. But turns out he likes the brats. So there I was, tumbling down into the dark of the deepest corner of the Batcave, and splash, I admit, I thought I was a goner. Okay, now how in the world did he get there? And when did he get there? You know, this seems like a plot hole to me. When did the Joker tumble down into this part of the Batcave? What was he doing that made him tumble down there? And anyway, he says that he knew something was coming, and he could feel it inside of himself, and that it's also in Duke. And he's trying to explain something to them, and you have to wonder, why is the Joker trying to explain anything? His main goal has always been misdirection. So that's what doesn't make sense about this story. He says, it's still in me, it's in you, it's all around us. It's some type of metal. And then the lights go out. Green Lantern's ring won't work. And Joker says, oh, I know how this story is going to end, because it's all happened before. Like they're in some sort of reincarnation loop or something. Then we go back here to Carter Hall and Shiara Hall when they were adventurers, and he talks about this type of drawing he keeps seeing no matter where he goes in all the different caves that he's explored. He keeps seeing these drawings of these weird demons, and he says the demon who took the sigil of the great and terrible bat, the plague bringer, the scourge of mankind, my wife and I. Okay, he established right there that Shiara is his wife. And see up there, top left, that's Shiara Hall. Okay? I want you guys to remember this. That's Shiara Hall, his wife. And so they get through whatever it is that then there's a lot of dialogue from Carter Hall, but that's what I want to establish. That right there we see Carter Hall and his wife Shiara Hall hugging. Shiara Hall is a redhead. She is a redhead. She's Caucasian. Okay, let's move on. That's what I wanted to establish right there. Then he says in the time to come that the strange metal, it brought more to them. Wonders, wings, and countless lives. So this metal brought them wings. Did he mean wings as in the ones that they wore on their backs, or wings as in pilots? I don't know. And it says, we recruited adventurers from around the world to share our values so they could research this strange metal. And I swear this looks like Batman right here, you know, to the left next to this blonde girl. But I don't think it is. And it says, the wizard's knife, that same guy that we saw in the beginning of the story. The wizard's knife gave us the power we needed to chart our way into the darkness. We were ready to understand the true nature of things, ourselves, and the worlds around us. And there he's holding the hand of his wife, Shiar Hall. I remember Shiar's hand in mine, holding tight as the switch was flipped. And then he says something here that I think is very important. And then everything starts to explode, and he says that the earth shakes and you hear it screaming. And then he says something that's very important because it's going to be part of Dark Night Metal #1. As I stared into the darkness where Challenger's Mountain had stood, I felt a chill down my spine. Remember that name, Challenger's Mountain, because it will be in the next part of the story. Then he says, I saw the eyes of something great and terrible staring back at me through the abyss, eyes waiting in the dark. Now, I cannot be sure, but I think that's what Batman saw in Dark Days, The Forge. I think that's the exact same thing that Scott Free, aka Mr. Miracle, saw when he unlocked the door for Batman. Then we go back to the Sonoran Desert in Arizona, where Batman is trying to get inside someplace, and we can tell he's inside a tunnel or something. You can see for how it's broken down. But I think it would be better if this was darker, except, of course, the Sunblade lights his path. And he says, searching for answers, and all I find are more mysteries. Send an alert to Black Lightning. I'll need the outsiders to scour the surroundings. And, well, wait a minute. Who's Black Lightning? Is he part of... And the outsiders? I can't remember if Batman led a team called the Outsiders or the Outlaws in the 1980s, I think. That's completely out of continuity. That's when the continuity of DC Comics had not been rebooted. So how is that able to be mentioned here? I think that's a plot hole for this story, this comic book. And then there's a mysterious voice that appears. Batman, you must turn back. Dubelex, and of course we have no idea who Dubelex is. This is a Cadmus base, and Cadmus is a government-funded Black Ops project. He says, no, Batman, that's what it was. This has become far darker. The DNA project has tracked the beings with it in their blood, and they began to activate them with a power source they did not understand. So what are you saying causes this? The metal you seek is cursed. Batman, the energy in it is roiling and dark. Everything it touches, it corrupts. So he's telling Batman to get away because it's already corrupting him. And does Batman listen? Of course not, because he's an idiot. He says, you need to tell me where this metal is. I need to see what's coming. You know, instead of getting your ass out of there and saving yourself and potentially your extended family. He keeps on going. And then Talia al Ghul comes into the picture, and I'm going to see if I can do her voice like I remember from the 1995 Batman the Animated Series. "He fought so bravely to prevent me from taking my birthright. I almost pity the creature. Hello, beloved. It's been a long time since, beloved. What are you doing here, Talia?" "The same thing as you, I suppose. You seek something of great power, and it eludes your grasp. But nothing eludes the grasp of the demon, Bruce." And she's referring to her father, Ra's al Ghul. "What does Ra's al Ghul know, Talia?" "At the dawn of the 20th century, my father and others of his ilk came together to discuss a great mystery. One of them produced a powerful dagger made from the strange metal that you seek. My father spent decades trying to reacquire it. He ultimately succeeded, picking it from the ruins of a private military base in the Rocky Mountains. He supposed the right people would pay good money to tap into its power. So, you've come to do your father's bidding." "No, Batman. There have been secret battles to suppress the power of this metal for decades. But its power has only grown with time, tainting more and more. True war is now inevitable. You must know this. You have one of the potentials living under your roof. I came for the knife to ready myself for war. It darkens day by day. Its terrible power growing. I've heard rumblings. Leviathan moving against you. The great assassin you've brought back into the fold." And then Talia al Ghul says, "You have nothing to fear from the silencer, Bruce. Nor from me." "Talia, what if I could offer you a trade?" Now, she didn't ask for a trade. "The 8th form of the metal for the 9th. You would trade light for darkness? You would give me the power of a god?" And at this point, he's dumb enough to do just that. "The world is at a moment of great imbalance. I helped the mother of my son, the daughter of my enemy, so that should the moment come where I need to call upon her for a greater favor, perhaps she'll answer." "Very well. They say you can hear the name of the wizard who forged the dagger when you hold it in your hand, that it carries a small piece of his great power, the power of Shazam." So this means that there's a good possibility that the character Shazam, the superhero known as Shazam, is going to re-enter the continuity of DC Comics. I don't know. I hope so. And I do like the way they drew Talia, because she is very, very sexy. And then we go back to the Batcave. And of course, Duke is being Mr. Obvious, saying, "We need light, damn it!" And of course, Green Lantern's trying. And Joker's over here trying to destroy this machine. And Duke says the obvious. "It's some kind of machine." "I don't get it, Joker. Where's the joke in all this?" Green Lantern says. "This isn't funny." And of course, with Joker, there's always a punchline, always a joke. "Get away from..." And so he tries to illuminate the situation with his power ring. Then Joker smacks him across the face, asking him, "Don't you understand?" Now this is what I find interesting here. This is what your alien boss has sent you here to stop. If he uses the machine, that'll be the end of everything. Now, how in the world did Joker know that the Guardians of the Galaxy sent Green Lantern to Earth, to Wayne Manor, to the Batcave? How did he know that? You know, that's an unanswered question there. And down here we see Joker taunting Duke Thomas, and he's like saying, "Don't you understand why that you've never seemed to fit in? Aren't you curious? Don't you want to know why Batman picked you?" And then he says something interesting, believe it or not. Joker says, "Did you know at Gotham Mercy Hospital there's an automatic flag that goes up when something unusual is detected in a blood sample? It's a kind of metal toxicity, but they can't really track any of its effects because it sure as hell isn't iron. It's not even mercury. The first doctor to put that flag up, the program only gave him 4 characters to designate the flag, but he did the best he could. And I've seen that file for both you and your mom." And he says the 4 words, META, meta, as in meta-human. And he says that Batman's been tracking as many of them as he can. A whole new generation of superheroes and supervillains, the soldiers of the war that will rip this world apart. Now, I heard a while back that DC Comics is going to launch a new imprint in 2018 called Earth M, with all new superheroes and supervillains. So that's probably what Joker is talking about here. And he says, you know, tell your computer to look up the file so you can see it for yourself. I know the truth. I know what you're here to do. And he's basically saying you're here to do just one thing, and you're not very important at all. And so Duke falls over the edge, and then the Joker thinks that, you know, Duke is gone because he's laughing, and the signal goes dark because that's what Duke is, the signal. And now to write the grand finale of this sword tale so we can get back to the good stuff. Bats and clowns, not bats and birds. This has gone on long enough. You're damn right, Joker. Now this is where it gets really funny. Hal Jordan comes back and says, "There's something you probably should have known before you locked me into Bat's underground hangar. I'm a decorated member of the United States Air Force. Your story time is over." He says, "No!" And then we zoom back to Carter Hall with his tale. And he says that there's a time he believed the world got a little bit better every time we solved one of the great mysteries. When we mastered a law of nature with our wit and our science, I felt like we were marching onward and upward. But toward the kind of utopia of science and wonder that first captured my imagination when I saw the Thanagarian ship crashing in my life as Khufu." See, he's owning up to that the Thanagarian ship is not his. They were scientists, we would discern. We thought they came bearing gifts and knowledge. Now I know the reason they brought the Nth metal here. They came to warn us of what they knew was on the other side. They didn't come to help us move forward into the light. They were here to stop us in our tracks, so the universe would never fall prey to the ambitions of a small world that even millennia later can barely get past its own moon. This is the final entry in my journal. I believe I have found a way to penetrate the barrier of our reality and enter the dark myself. I still believe in my heart that there is wonder and hope out there in the unknown, at the center of all this incredible power. But that hope seems more foolish with every passing day. I feel the encroaching darkness planting doubt deep in my soul. So here we have the final nail in the origin of Hawkman's history. He no longer is a Thanagarian. He's just some dude. And then he says that the others, even my wife, believe the mystery is and has always been a trap. And then he goes on to say that he left all his journal with a family that he trusted. Well, it must have been the Wayne family in the early part of the 20th century. And we see that, he's talking about our enemy has grown stronger, and of course, those soldiers fallen. We don't know why they actually fell, and there he is entrusting the journal to someone, the Wayne family, I suppose. He's saying that the Wayne family, know how important this is, and they must stay far from the dark and frightening truth lurking under the world, trying to force itself through. I stand with my torch, facing the dark. I believe I will find something out there, a glimmer of potential, but I know that I am likely wrong, that all I will find is the darkness itself. I walk toward my end alone, so that no man could ever be foolish enough to follow. It's kind of poetic, but it's really disappointing how they have gotten away from his origin. Then we go back. I think this is the next page, or did I skip over one? No, this is the next. This is the next page. Okay. What's so funny, Duke says, because they have the Joker pinned to the wall, so to speak. And I want you, and everyone listening, I want you to notice something that I just noticed. This bat jet, it looks like the very same Batmobile that was used in Bruce Timm's Batman Beyond animated series in the late 1990s. I swear it looks to be an exact replica. I did not notice that until now. And when Batman had his own series in the mid-1990s, I do not remember him having a jet of this design. He had one, but I don't think it was of this design. And here Joker goes again, saying, "It's happening again. No matter what I do, it just keeps on coming. Everything's going backwards. Neither of you understand." And he says, You don't even realize that this time I was being the good guy. Yeah, right. And he says a dark crisis is coming. And Duke is starting to feel strange. Because he says, GL, something's wrong. Okay, and what's going on here? Okay. Duke is feeling sick because he says that it's like I can feel something getting closer. All the pieces are connected, and the puzzle always comes together in the form of a bat. Duke feels overwhelmed, and something from inside him explodes, and a big energy burst is released from within him. You can see that here in the panel. And then Batman reappears in his own Batcave and says, "What the hell did you do to my cave?" And then Green Lantern says, "What did I do? This was the Joker. You let him out? Do you have any idea?" And Green Lantern says, "How many Justice League bylaws you're breaking for locking up one of the most dangerous people on the planet in your basement without telling anyone?" "Yeah, Bruce, I do." "I needed him!" It was like, Batman throwing a temper tantrum. For what? To fill every gap in this insane conspiracy theory with lies, secret metals, with incredible power shaping human history? I mean, come on. And based on what you told the League, you can't even be sure that was the real Joker. And it's, something I had doubts about myself. Bruce, we need you to explain what's going on here. And right now, Green Lantern is acting on behalf of the entire Justice League. And Batman starts to speak, saying, "I spent a long time putting these pieces together, finding what I needed to look back into the dark." "Back?" Duke says. And he says, "I called this my final invention." And right now, this is where it gets really confusing, because I don't even know when this happened. That it was designed to ensure that the city would always have a Batman, but before he could finish it, Batman died at the hands of the Joker. Well, when was that? I don't remember ever hearing anything about that. So if that really did happen, there should have been something here in this panel on the left that would say, "See, whatever issue that it came from." And it says, "And that would have been the end of my story if not for the metal. If not for the Dianism, I would have lost my life, not just my memory. Ultimately, I use a machine to reconstitute myself." That makes no freaking sense. You can't reconstitute yourself. And with no backstory for this small panel, really? And he says, but the metal is still nestled in the cracks of his skull. And when the machine activated, he saw something impossible. Different versions of himself dying over and over again. He says, nothing in the machine I built could have given me those visions. It was the metal, the incredible, powerful metal. And then he couldn't escape it, so he began to rebuild his machine from the ground up. He wanted to look inside the dark to the source of the metal's power. And he said once he did that, everything would make sense. Green Lantern says, "Whatever you've been doing in here caught the attention of the Guardians of the Universe." Batman. Earlier I said Guardians of the Galaxy. That was my mistake. It's Guardians of the Universe. And doesn't that give you pause, he says? Why a mortal man on a backwater world doing a little bit of archaeology require interference from intergalactic peacekeepers? Why does your ring, the most powerful weapon in the universe, cower in the face of a pure strain of this strange and impossible metal? And then Duke says, "The Joker said you brought me in to study me like some kind of experiment." Of course, and then he says the Joker lies. And Batman remarks that this is supposed to be the end of all this stuff, that he has the dimensional frequency of the energy locked, and with that dagger, he has the power to see the truth at the heart of the mystery. And all of a sudden, Duke freaks out. "That dagger, it's doing something to me." And then he's able to see the machine which got destroyed. But and Duke can see how it all fits together. And then his whole uniform starts coming apart. Said, "The Joker said this would happen. How could he know?" And then Batman starts paraphrasing Hal Jordan's Creed. "How I know this makes you uncomfortable, but the night is getting blacker every minute, and the evil is far out of sight. Yeah, Batman, I know my oath." And then Green Lantern does something interesting. He gives Duke Thomas a duplicate ring. He says it's a loaner. And he says, "And what if I've been going through today is any indication, this is going to hurt a lot." So where did he get this duplicate ring? I think that Green Lantern made it from his own willpower. He says you need to put all of yourself, all your will, into that ring and show us what you see. And so that's what Duke does. He uses the ring, and you can see the explosion coming from out of the ring right there. And he's able to illuminate everything. He says, "It's all here." And they're able to see everything. And Green Lantern remarks, "Whatever you see in there, Bruce, I'm telling the Guardians, if this stuff can affect our rings, there's no telling how powerful it could be." He says, "I understand, Hal. Thank you." And then there's more of the Journal of Carter Hall. There's a feeling you get at the end of an adventure. You feel it in the anxious quickening in your heart, in every tentative footstep you take. It's the fear of what you've done to bring you to that point. The knowledge that whatever mistakes you made are yours to own from here into eternity. It's the knowledge that there is no way back. And there Batman stands before the machine. Oops. Let's get back there. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, about that. Okay. Sorry about that. This site is acting up. Okay, now I'm back to where I need to be. Then Batman sits down in front of the machine, and you can see Wonder Woman's bracelet, Aquaman's trident, Dr. Fate's mask, and a bunch of other stuff over here. And it's a Carter Hall saying that you and only you control your destiny. But with every step forward, your story cooled and hardened, pulling you exorbiantly toward a singular ending, an ending you can no longer choose, an ending that chooses you. Which makes no sense. And so Bruce looked at something, Batman, he looked at something, and he fell down unconscious. And then we see this. Now, 3,000 miles below Gotham City. It's something that looks like what most people would picture hell to be. And it's done. He's stared into the abyss. They're referring to Batman. And we have hidden what lies within. The final seal is broken. After all these generations, the sacrifice is at hand. Let us see them. Let us see what he should have seen if we had not prepared him correctly. The dark days are over. And look at that image of a bat right there. Like I said before, this is basically a Batman story. And they say, the Dark Nights are coming. And if you notice, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there should be a 7th, I think. And with them, the true father of Batman. The invasion begins with a Metal 1 in stores, which it's already have it. I just need to do the review. But this story, I tell you, it's an okay story. The artwork was I think was pretty good, but the story has problems. There's plot holes, and I don't even know if the writers realized this when they were constructing the story. But one of those plot holes will be evident in my review of Dark Nights Metal #1 when I get to it. So I enjoyed this issue. I don't know about you guys. Even though it has problems, I still enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it or if you didn't enjoy it, leave me comments below because I check for them each day. And also, please do subscribe to Spirit Comics and smash the bell like She-Hulk so you can get all the notifications and new uploads and such. Also, please like and share the video with others so they can enjoy it as well. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Till next time.